Has anyone else noticed how difficult it is to lose fat in perimenopause? That the things that used to work for you back in your 30s just don't seem to work the same anymore. If you're noticing this shift as well, you're definitely not alone, and it's not your imagination. It can be more difficult to lose fat in perimenopause and keep it off. Things like declining hormones, competing priorities, slow metabolism due to several dieting attempts, all of these things are stacked against us. But I want you to know there is a solution to this problem. So stick around, and that's exactly what we're going to be talking about this week with the 5-day Lean Physique Challenge. Hi, I'm Courtney, and I'm the admin of this group, and I'm so pumped that you're here. We are hosting the free 5-day Lean Physique Challenge, just 5 days to a leaner, stronger perimenopause body. So today we are going to be setting the stage for everything you need to know about getting that lean toned look that you want so much in your 40s and beyond. But before we go into all of that, I do want to say this real quick because I mentioned this in our live stream on Friday, and I'm not sure if y'all caught that because it was a little bit later on in the live stream that I brought this up, but I want to say this right now, right off the bat. Day one of the challenge is that the reason why you're struggling is probably not what you think. So sure, it might be that you're not doing the right action steps. That could be it, but I also want to mention this, something that you might not be seeing, and that is this. If you have limiting beliefs about your ability to actually be able to change your body, if you have limiting beliefs such as it's all downhill after 40, or nothing seems to work for me, or those things like lifting weights and walking, that's just not going to be enough for me to lose weight. If you have these beliefs, more than likely that's really where the problem is. Because here's the thing, is that if you have these limiting beliefs about your ability to do this work, about your ability to be successful, then this is going to show up in how you show up. So meaning, I don't know if you've ever noticed that maybe you have like one toe in and one toe out type situation when it comes to trying something new. So for example, you're just giving it half-ass effort. And the problem with that is that if you're giving something half-ass effort, you're going to get so-so results. So it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy. You try something, but you're only giving half effort and you're getting so-so results. And then you're using it as evidence to be like, see, this didn't work for me either. Nothing works for me. And all of these start to stack up over time. You know, this challenge, right? And then the next week is an intermittent fasting window. And then the next week is keto. And then the next week is a new boot camp class. So the issue here is that if you're constantly trying different things, if you're hopping from one program to the next, then you're not going to get a sustainable result because you haven't done it consistently enough to yield a result. So that's one issue I see when it comes to women and these limiting beliefs. The other thing I see is when women have these limiting beliefs, they don't take action. They don't sign up for the challenge. They don't go to the gym or even work out at home. They don't get their steps in. They're not following any kind of nutrition plan because they don't think it's worth the effort. So if you're not going to put any effort in, you're not going to get any result. So this is actually the main problem, is thinking that you're fucking broken. Because if you have this belief that my metabolism shot, the best years are behind me, it's all downhill from here. If you have these thoughts flooding into your brain over and over and over, it is 100% going to affect how you show up, okay? So I wanted to say this right off the start because I see it over and over again. It's not that you're doing everything wrong, it's that you have these beliefs that are getting in the way of your success. Because if you have these beliefs, it is going to impact your actions that you take. It's absolutely going to impact the results that you get. So we have to get out of this mindset that you're fucking broken, because if you keep believing this, things are just going to get worse. Your energy is going to continue to decline. You're going to keep feeling softer and softer because you're going to lose muscle mass. And then the weight is going to continue to creep up. Okay? I'm not trying to scare you. What I'm trying to do is bring awareness that believing that you're broken, thinking that your metabolism shot, thinking that these things are not going to work for you, that is 100% what the problem is. So I want this to be different, okay? I don't want this to be another challenge in the graveyard of things that you have tried and been unsuccessful with. I want you all to actually take this seriously. So if you want to stop blaming your body, because it's not your body's fault, you just need to be in the right mindset and you need to do the right things consistently. I'm going to tell you right now, you don't need to do probably most of the things that you think you need to do, okay? You don't need to do keto. You don't need to do intermittent fasting. You don't need to do OMAD, okay? You do not need to do HIIT and a whole bunch of cardio. In fact, all of those things are probably part of the problem. What it takes is doing hormone smart, basic boring behaviors consistently and doing it long enough to get a result. So it's going to take basic behaviors times consistently, consistency times time, okay? That is the formula. So that's exactly what we're going to talk about this week inside this challenge is we are going to simplify fat loss, okay? We're also going to simplify muscle building for women in perimenopause. So no more starting over, no more trying this thing and then that thing, just a few hormone smart shifts that actually work in this stage of life. So if you guys have not signed up for the free Lean Physique challenge, make sure that you do that, okay? Do that right now, okay? We have links all over this group. As soon as I'm done live here, I'm gonna pop the link into the comments as well. But I want you guys to sign up because yes, I'm gonna be live here every day, but you're gonna get all the tools that you need to start this journey in the emails. So I'm not going to be handing those out in the group. You need to be on this email list in order to get the tools. So today's tool, you got the workouts for the challenge. There's 2 workouts in there. So that being said, today's challenge is to schedule your 2 workouts inside the workout guide that came out this morning. If you sign up now, before I send out the replay, you will get the workouts as well, okay? But you need to do it today because you're just gonna miss out, okay? So sign up, the link is gonna be in the comments as soon as I'm done. But once you guys schedule your workouts, I want you to look at your schedule and plug those into 2 days. So there's an upper body workout and a lower body workout. That's your goal for this week, is to complete those 2 workouts. They're only about 30 minutes a piece, okay? So I want you to look at your calendar and physically write it or type it into your calendar, just like an important appointment. So not just putting it on the day, but also making sure that you're picking a time that you're almost certain that you can make, okay? So that's gonna be the action step for the day. Once you guys complete a workout, snap a sweaty selfie and then put that into our group, whether that is in the comments of one of the posts, or you can make your own posts as well. But this is what we want to do in order to get started with this lifestyle that's actually really enjoyable, okay? So that is day 1, ladies. So that being said, before we hop into a little bit more about weight training, I do want to set the stage here. One more thing is that if you guys sign up for this challenge, I want you to take it seriously. And I want you to treat it like you actually paid for this challenge, okay? I want you to act like you paid $500 for this challenge. Why? Because a lot of times if we don't pay for something, we don't have any skin in the game. Now, I wanted to make this challenge free so that way you guys can get a little bit of a taste of what it's like to work with me. And also just so you guys see this whole process from a bird's eye view, okay? So yes, whenever you pay, that's really when the transformation happens, because you start paying attention, right? Because I don't want this to be another free thing that, you know, you find this like a little bit later in your emails and you're like, what the hell is this? I don't even remember signing up for this. I don't want it to be like that, okay? I want this to be the last fucking thing you try, okay? I want you to find a sustainable solution to your issues with fat loss and building muscle 40 plus, okay? That is literally what my goal is to help as many women as possible in this group start to make some lifestyle shifts so they can feel better in their skin, so they can have good quality life and not be miserable in perimenopause and beyond. So I do want you guys to just act like you paid for this challenge, $500, so that way you show up, you do the work, because let's be real here. You guys can watch the live streams, but if you're not taking action, you're not going to see any result. So sign up for the challenge, because that's how you're going to be able to take action, is because I created all these tools. So one tool every day of the challenge to help you implement all of these things that we're going to be learning inside today's, inside this week's challenge. Okay. So that is the action step for day 1. Download the workouts that you get once you sign up for the challenge, and then look through that guide and schedule those into your week this week. And then once you complete one of your workouts, snap a selfie and then post it into our group. But thanks so much for being here. So before we get going a little bit more on some muscle building techniques for women 40 plus, I just want to quickly explain my framework for getting lean and strong in perimenopause. So the framework is actually called FRAME. So we have one focus for each day of the challenge. So today we're going to be going over F. So F is foundation of muscle. This is really, really important, even if you don't want to look jacked, even if you don't want to look buff, but if you want that toned look, if you want to look lean, if you want to look strong, if you want to look lean and toned, okay? This is really, really important, because if you lose weight without lifting weights, then you're probably going to lose lean muscle mass. And this is really important because, especially if you're over the age of 40, we already have to fight tooth and nail to keep our muscle mass, and also even building lean muscle mass. That is nearly impossible unless you're ticking all of those boxes and you're being consistent. So that's why this is really, really important. So even if you don't want to look jacked, it's so important, because having that base of muscle is what's going to help you look toned, is going to give you shape. So I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but if you've ever lost weight but you weren't satisfied with the results, more than likely it's because you lost muscle mass in the process, or you didn't have the muscle mass there to begin with, okay? So a lot of people think that you're going to get toned by just losing weight, but that's not actually true. How you look toned is having a good base of muscle under the fat, okay? So that way when you lose the fat, you reveal it. So it's really, really important to be consistent with weight training workouts. I just suggest starting off with 2 non-consecutive days of lifting weights. Do that, and then you can start working up to training 3 to 4 days a week, focusing on lifting weights with progressive overload. So really, really important. And not only that, I also want you to know that how much muscle you have is going to impact your metabolism. So someone who has muscle tone is going to have a more responsive metabolism. They're going to be able to keep their calories at a higher point, because that muscle tissue is more metabolically active, okay? So you're basically just going to be burning more calories just as a result of having more muscle on you, okay? So not only is it going to make you look better as you lose weight, but it's also going to help your metabolism. R is big rocks. We're going to be talking about this all tomorrow. So there is 6 big rocks, or 6 basic behaviors that are really going to help you with your hormone health. Is going to help you feel less effects of hormonal imbalances. And these are the things that really are going to move the dial forward when it comes to losing fat and building muscle 40 plus. So we'll go over that all tomorrow. Make sure you sign up for the challenge, because I have a daily commitment guide that is going to make it really easy for you, and you actually get to pick which behaviors you're going to focus on. A, so this is going to be in day 3. A is for assess. So if you've ever wondered, should I lose fat or should I focus on building muscle? I don't know which one to focus on, or maybe I should do both. This is a really important conversation, and I cannot wait, because this is probably my favorite thing that I like to talk about inside of my coaching containers, because this is very, very individual, and it's just really going to depend on a lot of things, including like your goals, where you're at right now. It's also going to depend on the skills that you have in place or lack thereof. And it's also just really going to depend on how much dieting history you have. So all of these things we need to look at, because If you're not looking at these things, you might be spinning your wheels because you're just not, you don't have the goal for the right thing, if that makes any sense. So really, really important that you know how to assess your current physique, ask yourself the right questions, so that way you're setting goals that you can actually achieve. So when you sign up for the challenge, you will get the physique assessment guide, which is going to walk you through exactly how to decipher, should I focus on losing fat, building muscle, or both, okay? So make sure you sign up for the challenge so you get that free resource. And then M is for macros. So we will keep it very, very simple, but fat loss, it doesn't really change. It doesn't matter if you're 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. It does not matter how old you are. Fat loss works the same, okay? It's a calorie in, calorie out type situation. So if we want to lose fat, we need to make sure that we are eating a little bit less than our current body needs. This is going to create a calorie deficit. And this is really the only way to lose fat. So it doesn't matter if you eat keto. None of those things matter. And to be quite clear, a lot of those things work is because they put you in a calorie deficit, right? Keto is one of those things. It has a slight like appetite suppressant effect. So a lot of people, when they eat keto, they will notice that their hunger is a little more managed. So AKA they're eating less and they're getting themselves into a calorie deficit. Same thing with intermittent fasting. It works the same way. There's nothing magical about intermittent fasting. It's just whenever you're intermittent fasting, you're essentially skipping a whole meal. So yeah, that's another way of creating calorie deficit. But you don't really need to do any of that to lose weight. In fact, when I lost 12 pounds over 12 weeks last fall, I did not do any intermittent fasting. I kept my carbs high. What I did, I just tracked my food and I made sure that I kept my movement up. So I tracked both my calories, my macros, and my steps. And yeah, I created a calorie deficit. And by tracking those metrics, I actually lost weight pretty easily. I lost 1 pound a week. And that was when I was age 44. So these things do work. So on Thursday, day 4, we're going to go over my macro framework and I'm going to help you guys get started with macros. And it doesn't have to be overwhelming and you don't have to do everything. Even just learning how to do some portion control, which there's going to be a quick 5-minute video on how to start tracking on MyFitnessPal, as well as my portion control guide that walks you through how to weigh your food, and also a little handy guide that has, you can use your hand as a visual guide. This is a really good place to get started, y'all. So stay tuned. We're gonna be talking about that in day 4. And then finally, day 5 is going to be evolve. So this is all about evaluating your results. Okay, so a lot of people, they start going on this journey and then they hit a plateau or they're not seeing results fast enough. And the issue is that a lot of times when this happens, they make it mean something about themselves. And they're like, see, it didn't work. So kind of going back to what we were talking about in the beginning of our live stream. And then we have this like start and stop thing, right? So a plateau is not a sign that you failed. A plateau is really just like, okay, let's look at the data and let's decipher, do we just need to be more consistent? Do we need to make things a little bit easier so we actually check those boxes off? Do we need to lower our calories more? Do we need to increase our steps more, right? So we have to look at the data besides just like, oh, just chalking it up to another thing that didn't work for me. It's like, okay, did you track anything? And most of the time that answer is no. Y'all, we cannot fix a fucking problem that we don't have data on, okay? So I know some of you all are like, oh, tracking is so restrictive. No, it's not. You know what's restrictive is that your food rules are. You know, doing things like thinking fruit is going to make you fat. Those are the food rules that are actually fucking you up. Instead, what we need to do is have an objective, neutral stance when it comes to things like our body weight, things like our steps, things like our macros. We cannot judge ourselves and shame ourselves over the things that we did or didn't do. We need to train ourselves to be objective, to have a neutral stance. Like, hey, this is just my weight today, right? Like, I'm on progesterone right now and my weight has gone up like an average of about 3 pounds just in like 2-3 weeks. Now, okay, does that piss me off? Yeah, it does. But I also know it's not body fat. I actually did my body fat this morning to rule that out. It's bloating. It's water retention, right? And that's actually a normal thing when you start HRT. So instead of like getting crazy and like, oh, see, I'm fucked now. I'm on progesterone. I'm on HRT. Here comes the weight gain. No, I'm still showing up the same way. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to do anything right now. I'm not going to cut my calories. I'm not going to cut carbs. I'm not going to do any of that. I'm going to keep an eye on it and know that more than likely it's just water retention. Because that's what fucks y'all up, is whenever you guys see the scale move 1 pound, you freak out. And then you think that nothing is going to work for you or that you're fucked, right? No, we have to approach things differently, guys. Okay? So that's what day 5 is all about. We are going to take your results and we're going to evaluate them. So that way you know what to do and when to do them when things seem to be stalled or just not working. Okay? So that's the whole framework that we're going to be talking about this week. So here's the thing, guys. If you've ever worked out, but your body didn't seem to change, it's not your fault. It just might be that you need a different plan for this stage of life. So now we're going to shift into muscle, okay? So we're going to be talking about foundation of muscle for day 1. So again, we talked a little bit earlier about how even if you don't want to look buff, if you want like that lean, tight, defined, toned look, then you definitely need to make sure that you are prioritizing weight training. And I want to be really clear here. I get a lot of questions of, Courtney, but what if I want to focus on fat loss? Should I just go ahead and focus on that first and then start lifting weights? No. In fact, I will say it's even more important, okay? If you are on a weight loss journey, if you're on a GLP-1, you need to start lifting weights like yesterday, okay? Because like I was explaining beginning of our live stream today, is that rapid weight loss, you will lose muscle mass, okay? So lifting weights consistently is one way that you can at least make it less, okay? So really, really important. If you're on any kind of steep calorie deficit or a GLP-1, anything like that, you really need to make sure that you're lifting weights, okay? It's gonna be too late, okay? It can be too late if you don't do this now, okay? Because you're gonna get to your goal weight and you're not gonna look good and you're gonna keep thinking you need to lose weight. No, you need to build muscle because that toned look is not gonna be there if you don't take the time to build that muscle first, okay? Now, the other thing that we need to talk about here is that we're not just talking any kind of weightlifting, we're talking about using progressive overload. Progressive overload is increasing the weight loads. It's lifting with more intention. It's better range of motion, improving your form. It's more sets and reps, okay? So it can be all of these things, more time under tension. So a lot of ways that you can progress, but I see a lot of people and they still have 10-pound dumbbells. Like that's the heaviest they have. And it's like, you're not gonna build any muscle that way. Okay, you really have to pick up the big, heavy dumbbells, all right? Now, if you're just getting started, 10 pounds is probably more than enough, but I'm talking about the people that I see at the gym, and it's like they've been training for months, and then they're still going over and picking up like the 8s and the 10s. That's not enough. Like I was saying earlier, like to build muscle 40 plus, it is more difficult, especially if you've been training for a long time. And really age is a factor as well, okay? It's just harder to build muscle 40 plus. So we need to make sure that we are tracking our lifts. We are increasing the weight when at a certain point, and that's something that I teach inside of my Lean Physique one-on-one coaching program. So not just any weights, we need to be picking up the heavy weights, okay? Now, some of you all might be thinking, yeah, but won't lifting heavy make me look bulky? Here's the reality. No, it's not going to. Now, there is women that can build muscle fairly quickly. It's not very common, especially in our age group, but it can happen, and that's really just due to genetics. But what I say about that is that, listen, you can actually spot train. So what I mean by that, okay, for example, if you think your shoulders are too big, you can actually back off of your shoulders. Maybe you just do like one shoulder exercise a week. So your muscle is just like fat, right? So muscle can get bigger and it can get smaller. Same with fat cells, okay? Two different tissues, but they both can get bigger and they can get smaller. So you can do that with weight training. You can train areas more, like for example, I'm a hard gainer in my glutes. So I try to focus on my glutes especially. I do 2 to 3 lower body workouts a week. And a lot of those exercises are glute focused because that is my problem area. I don't have as much issue growing my thighs, but my glutes are a lot slower. So because of that, I program my leg workouts to be mostly glute exercises, okay? So that's a great thing about weight training is that you can actually spot train. Now, you cannot spot reduce. We'll talk a little bit more about this later on in the challenge, but unfortunately, you cannot pick where fat comes from. Fat loss is going to come from all over fat loss, okay? So creating a calorie deficit, keeping your steps high, and then eating a little bit less than your body needs. But here's the reason why women think they look bulky is because it's not a muscle issue, it's actually a body fat issue. So think of it in this context. You could actually have muscle tone, but if you have excess body fat, that is what's going to make you look bulky. So it's not the muscle that is causing the bulky look, it's probably that you just need to lose a little bit of body fat, okay? So let me know if you guys have any questions about that, all right? All right, guys. And then finally, we need some rest, okay? Resting in between sets is really, really important. Doing things like burpees and mountain climbers, cardio moves in between, it might feel sweaty, it might feel accomplished, it might feel like, oh man, I'm burning a lot of calories, and it probably is. Those moves do burn a lot of calories, but here's the problem. If you're not actually resting during rest periods, you're probably not lifting as heavy as you could. So meaning you're not gonna get as much muscle tone as you want. You're not gonna be able to lift as heavy, okay? So resting, if you guys are gonna do the workouts this week, rest 1 to 3 minutes. Yes, it's a long time. Yes, just sit there or stand there. I don't care what you do, but the problem is that I see so many people that do workouts like this and then they complain that their body never changes is because cardio is actually catabolic to muscle. So meaning if you do too much of it, it will break down your muscle tissue. It will inhibit muscle growth, okay? So we need to be strategic. So it's not a good strategy to do cardio in between weights because we're just kind of like, we're making it to where we're not resting fully. We're getting that heart rate really high up. And then when you go to do your next set, you're not going to be able to lift with as much intensity or weight load. Okay. And that's what we need 40 plus to build muscle. We need enough stimulus. So we need to lift heavy enough. And we need to make sure that we're resting long enough in order to lift as heavy as possible, to lift it as intensely as possible. So I think that's really like the biggest issue I see with women that are already lifting weights, but they're not seeing the results that they want, is that they're ending the set too fast. So they're not pushing themselves to where you really only have like maybe 2 to 3 reps in reserve. So what that means is that you get to the end of your set and it's like, I might be able to do like 2 or 3 more reps. Yeah, that's when you're done, okay? But if you're stopping when you have like 5, 6, 7 reps left, then you probably can lift a little bit heavier, okay? So really, really important to make sure that you're resting in between sets. Now, can you do cardio on other days or after your workout? Yeah, absolutely. I definitely wouldn't do a lot. I will say, I might need to post that picture later. I have a side-by-side of me at 38 doing what I called weights and like HIIT workouts and boot camps versus now. So the one where I'm doing all the boot camp classes and the cardio, I'm like 38 and then now I'm 44. I'll be 45 tomorrow. Tomorrow's my birthday. It's insane how much more muscle I have. And it's crazy because like I do 1 cardio workout a week and I actually just started that like 3 weeks ago. There was like a long period of time where I didn't do any cardio at all. All I did for cardio was walking. So cardio, it's one of those things. Yes, it can be used as a tool for fat loss. Yes, it's great for heart health, improving your lung function. I think those are all great things. But if you do too much of it, it is going to negatively impact your physique, because you're going to be leaving muscle gains on the table by training in that way. So I think that cardio can be great on separate days. Like, for example, I do cardio on Wednesdays. I don't do anything else with cardio. I just do it on a standalone day. Or you could do your cardio at the end of your session. But again, weight training needs to really be the primary focus, and that is even if fat loss is your ultimate goal, okay? All right, guys, so just a quick question before we wrap up. I wanna know this. Who has done a lot of cardio, but their body didn't change? Let me know, because I totally have been there. I just didn't really look like I worked out. So let me know in the comments if that's true for you as well. So just a quick recap. Guys, today's challenge, download the workouts. Make sure that you sign up for the challenge so you can get access to those. What's great about the workouts is that there's a complete guide. You can click on all of the exercises, and there's like an exercise demo of me teaching or Brittany teaching. Yeah, so make sure that you plan that into your calendar this week. Post a sweaty selfie. Let us know how your workout went. That's really it for today. And then also, guys, treat this like you paid for this challenge, okay? I don't want this to be like another thing that we're doing, right? Like, no, we're actually going to start doing the things that actually move the needle forward, okay? And yeah, don't forget about my little mindset shift. Yeah, I know, I got a little woo-woo on you. Maybe that makes you feel uncomfortable. But you know what? You needed to hear that fucking truth, because I see it all the time. Y'all, you think you're fucking broken? No, that's the problem. You're not broken. Your thinking is fucking broken, okay? So this is why we're doing this challenge, because a lot of you need that extra accountability and support to know that you're not fucking broken. You just need to approach things a little bit differently. Tomorrow is my birthday. I turned 45. I'll be officially middle-aged. We are going to be talking about the big rocks. So make sure that you stay tuned for that. Sign up for the challenge. You guys are going to get the daily commitment guide. And what's great, you guys can pick whichever behaviors you want to focus on, because at the end of the day, I'm not going to make you do shit, okay? This isn't, well, we got to do this intermittent fasting for, you can only eat your meals in 6 hours. Like, what the fuck is this shit, y'all? Like, no, I'm never going to make you guys do that shit, okay? You get to pick. You're in the driver's seat. You get to decide what you're willing and able to do right now, okay? Because that's really it, is that, guys, this shit is fucking hard, okay? Being middle-aged is hard. We have all these competing priorities. Don't even get me started on the freaking shit sleep and the energy dips that is kicking my ass, right? So we need to work with that, okay? You do not need to be perfect. You do not need to do 47 things. You only need to do 2 or 3 things consistently, okay? And get out of this fucking mindset that you're broken. All right, guys, I'll see you tomorrow. We are going to be talking about the big rocks, the actual dial movers, okay? None of this keto shit, none of this, I don't even know, OMAD, all this crap that people think they need to do. No, you just need to show up consistently. And I'm going to also say, guys, I have not been in a calorie deficit. In fact, I've been eating in a slight surplus for 6 months. I don't look terrible, do I? I don't know. So just so you know, you don't always have to diet. Like, you can get to a point like me where you can actually eat at maintenance, even in a slight surplus, and still stay kind of lean. See, I actually have like a teeny tiny 2-pack if I flex. That's not bad. Not bad. Not bad for 45, almost 45. All right, guys, drop any questions in the comments. I will be back tomorrow for day 2 at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. All right, see you then.